Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Adnastana. Pleasure to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio and continuing this wonderful journey of light and knowledge that we began. Hard to believe, but it's like 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago now, actually 4 years ago. So, right, time flies when you're having fun and learning a lot, doesn't it? Now, my guest today on Points of Light Radio is Mike Duminiak. Now, you may recall Mr. Duminiak has fellowshipped with us several times. He was here only recently talking about his new book called Autistic. Now, in today's segment, he's here to refresh our memories about the Patriarchs Militant. He's been here before talking about it. And, you know, it's always wonderful, if you haven't noticed it, that we'd like to swing around and talk about these organizations a little bit and refresh our memories. Right, just to give you some background, it's been a while, more than 2 years actually. The Patriarchs Militant is the highest branch of the Independent Order of Oddfellows. The Patriarchs Militant was first organized in 1885 by members of the encampment who were military men and Civil War veterans, and was officially adopted as a separate branch of Odd Fellowship. Now, Mr. Duminiak will go further and explain that even further. There were other reasons behind that, right? There's only one degree to the Patriarchs Militant. As I said, Mr. Duminiak will really break that down in this particular segment as well. It's part of a much larger conversation I had with him a few months back. So he is the past military advisor for the Patriarchs Militant USA and the Deputy Grand Master and Grand Secretary Emeritus of the International Order of Oddfellows in Pennsylvania. Right? So, are you still thirsty for knowledge? Or are you still searching for the light? And brothers and sisters, you just trim your lamp and follow me. Mr. Duminiak, welcome to Points of Light Radio.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, now, you are the military advisor for the Patriarchs Militant of Pennsylvania, as I understand it. Why don't you tell my listeners and viewers about yourself? I understand you have a new title now.
Well, I had been the military advisor for the General Military Council, but that was a couple of terms ago.
Okay.
These days, I have a very active job as nothing at all
Okay.
in my canton. I'm still active. I still go to everything, having been past a lot of things. But right now, I'm mostly being an instructor and a mentor for people in the branch.
Excellent. Now, tell us about the Patriarchs Militant.
Well, the Patriarchs Militant is a uniformed ceremonial branch of Odd Fellowship that began in 1885 because there were people who wanted to be able to go out and do parades and do displays at a time when different fraternal organizations did not really let you wear regalia outside of the lodge hall, regardless of which organization it was. And the Masons, for example, had the Knights Templar, and they were able to go and march in parades. And so the Odd Fellows wanted something, and that's where the Patriarchs Militant came from.
Okay. Now, what are the qualifications to join? I understand you have to be in the encampment.
Yes. So to join the Patriarchs Militant, first you have to join the lodge and work your way through to the third degree. Then after that, you're eligible to join the encampment, which is the next level. And there are 3 degrees in the encampment. Once you've attained all of those, then you're eligible to join the Patriarchs Militant.
Now, is there a degree system? As I understand, there's only one, but as far as I know, with the Patriarchs Militant. But How long, shall we say, does an initiation into the Patriarchs Militant take?
Well, there's two parts to that. There's
Oh,
only one degree,
okay.
but there are two parts. The first part is mustering, and
Okay.
the mustering ceremony does not necessarily have the degree. So you can be mustered in and take your obligation and all of that, and then receive the full degree at a later point. Normally, we do them together, but you don't have to do them together. Um, and you can mostly now, the degree is primarily a lecture degree. The old ceremonial form is used on occasion where everybody dresses up in a lot of costumes and you need a whole lot of people to do it. But mostly now it is rolled into the mustering ceremony as a lecture.
Okay. Now, when do you meet and how often do you meet? Do you have like drill practice and so on, things like that?
Well, there's a couple different ways of doing that. The canton, which is the local unit, will meet usually once a month, and it goes through its regular drill practice as part of the opening and closing ritual, and sometimes we'll do other things. Most of your major drill and instruction practice happens at the jurisdictional level. In Pennsylvania, they have a winter meeting, and they do drill and marching and do the ceremonial version of the degree. Here in West Virginia, where I am now, we have a camp that we run, and that happens in the summer. We all get together and you stay for a couple of days, and all you do is work on drill and practice, and it's a school of instruction.
And it's been 20, like I think you said it was 25 years or close to 25 years anyway. You've been in Odd Fellowship. What changes have you witnessed within Odd Fellowship in general since you've.
Well, all fraternal organizations are having their struggles with numbers, and people like to talk about that and say how bad it is. But what I've really noticed mostly is all the green shoots that are out there. Yes, there are older members who are passing away, and that's not going to stop anytime soon because that's a generation that's unfortunately reaching the end of its lifetime. However, I have noticed lodges uh, basically return to better functioning. I've seen lodges recharter. I've seen lodges start over again. The same with encampments, the same with cantons. We've seen new ones starting. Yes, there are still other ones closing, but uh, the fact that we're seeing things start again is very promising because, yeah, I'm sure we're still going to lose more than we gain for the next decade as some of the older people pass away, especially in smaller towns where um, if they're not able to find new members because they just don't know anyone and they're not trying real hard, no one can really help them. It's not like you can do it from the outside. But in areas where we're growing again, and even in places where we lost lodges and they're coming back, it's really showing that the interest is out there. And that's something that I didn't see 20 years ago. We didn't see lodges opening. We just saw lodges consolidating and lodges closing. And now we're seeing lodges being formed and encampments being formed and cantons being formed. And that's really showing that, you know, maybe 15 years from now, we will have hit rock bottom, essentially. I don't think we're going to drop that much further than we have in any of the various fraternal organizations I belong to. I think we're almost near the bottoming out point of membership, and then we'll start to see things growing back again because people want this.
Very true. Now, walk us through your journey into the Odd Fellowship. Just real, like, what brought you
Yeah,
in?
yeah. I used to work um, in a town called Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, and I would often have to drive. I worked with at-risk youth, and I would have to drive to different places, and I would drive past this building that didn't look like much of anything. One story cinder block building, and it had this sign that said Odd Fellows on it. And I had no idea what it was. And I thought, that's really cool. I'd like to find out what it is, but it was always closed because, as we know, fraternal organization buildings don't get used unless it's meeting night for the most part. I moved away. I did other things. I came back to the area a number of years later, and I was going to a railroad thing because I like trains. And I ran into somebody there, and he was a Mason. And I asked about that. Next thing you know, I had joined the Masonic Lodge. And then a couple years later, the town I was living in, a guy that owned the convenience store asked if I would like to join the Odd Fellows. And I was like, oh, I remember that. That sounded pretty weird. I'll go ahead and give that a shot. And so a couple of us joined the Odd Fellows Lodge. And it was a good thing we did because within a few months of us joining, some of the older members had passed away and they would have not had a quorum and they would have had to shut down the lodge. And so it was just very fortuitous that he asked when he did. And we grew more people. I brought friends in, other people brought friends in, and that lodge started to turn the corner. And that's really how I got an Odd Fellowship. I found that it's a complement to Freemasonry. Going in Freemasonry first, that's about self-improvement. And Odd Fellowship is about outward action more than inward. So we do have virtues that are important, but all of our virtues are primarily outward. Friendship, brotherly love, truth. These are things that are designed that you do in conjunction with others. They're not about your own journey of self-improvement, but about mutual support.
And it's part of, I think, like I think you'll agree with me. What you love about it is the fellowship aspect of it, isn't it?
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, we live in a society that, despite being very connected, in many ways, we're actually more disconnected. And that is something that's been brought up that it's they consider it an epidemic, a loneliness epidemic. And there's no stability. Your job is not something that you can count on for a long-term career, and everything seems to be unstable. People just don't really know what to do with themselves. And having an organization that, we've all seen Cheers, or at least anybody my age watched Cheers, and anybody who did wanted to be Norm. You walk in and everybody says your name and they're glad you came, and that's their song. That's the Oddfellows Lodge. People know you're there. They say your name when you come through the door. They're happy to see you. You can talk about your problems. You can get people to help you. Hey, you need to move? People won't actually dodge your call. They'll help you move. That's something that everybody needs, especially people who are younger and trying to figure themselves out in the world. And also people who are older, who end up being widows or widowers, and they have to try to find a way to basically re-navigate their life. And having the support structure of the lodge is very helpful.
I agree. Well, Mr. Duminiak, I appreciate your time today, and all the best to you and your canton.
Thank you very much.
Wasn't it wonderful having him back here? It's funny how recently I've really reconnected with Mr. Duminiak, and I really enjoy that. And I love interviewing people who are so deeply involved in fraternalism, right? They're always so passionate and knowledgeable. As you can see, he really doesn't hold any leadership positions at this point within the Patriarchs Militant and so on, but he's still mentoring. He's still being there for the other members of that organization, right? And I love that. And right, and more than that, just the way he broke down the Patriarchs Militant, like I told you before, like there are always other reasons other than that are listed in the history books as to how these groups formed. Prime example was they noticed members of the Templars out marching in their uniforms, and they felt that the Odd Fellowship needed the same type of organization. I love that. the innovation that these and that these fraternal orders had, right? Before basically government and big business and so on picked up on that. They were there. As you heard me say before, they picked up on that, the creative minds that they had, right? You have to ask yourself whether we've lost some of that here in the 21st century, whether we've lost some of that creativeness. I would hope not, and I hope if we have, that we rediscover it, right? But I'm going to leave it there for now, brothers and sisters. Before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. My Bluesky handle is at POLightradio.bsky.social. You can see the link to my Spotify channel as well as my Points of Light Radio store. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out the PayPal link in the details section of this segment. I would like you to hit on that and make a voluntary donation to Points of Light Radio. We will use that to move the podcast forward. Brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure fellowshipping with you again and revisiting this organization. Until we meet again, just step into the light.